You know, we spend so much of our lives seeing death as the ultimate bad guy. We do everything we can to outrun it. But what if there was no finish line? Today, we're going to dive into one of the darkest corners of the Mahabharata to explore a terrifying idea. What happens when immortality isn't a gift, but a curse?
So, let me ask you a question. I want you to really think about it. What if you were forced to live forever? To watch everyone you've ever known, everyone you've ever loved, just fade away, while you just kept going? What if death wasn't something to fear, but a mercy you were never allowed to have? The legend goes that for 5,000 years, there's been a man walking this earth. He's a living ghost. He doesn't need to eat. He doesn't need to sleep. All he does is carry a wound that will never, ever heal, and a memory that he can never forget.
And look, this isn't the story of some deity or a powerful god. It's the story of a remnant, a leftover, a tragic echo from a forgotten age that time itself just can't seem to erase. We're talking about the story of Ashwatthama.
So, how in the world does a great warrior, a hero in his own right, end up like this? Well, to really get the curse, we have to rewind the clock. We have to go back to its source, to a single, terrible night filled with so much rage that it literally broke destiny.
See, Ashwatthama wasn't born some kind of monster. Far from it. He was the son of Drona, who was maybe the greatest teacher of warfare who ever lived. And Ashwatthama himself, he was a master of the astras, these divine weapons that channeled cosmic power. He was noble, he was powerful, but his one tragic flaw was that he was completely vulnerable to grief.
And this is where it all goes wrong. During the Great War, his father Drona is killed, but not in a fair fight. He's killed because of a lie, a dirty trick. And that one act of deception just shatters something inside Ashwatthama. He's not fighting for victory anymore. He wants vengeance, total extinction for his enemies. And in the dead of night, he does the unthinkable. He sneaks into the enemy camp and slaughters the entire sleeping, victorious Pandava army. But it gets worse. In one final horrifying blast of rage, he unleashes the Brahmashira, a weapon of total annihilation, and aims it at an unborn child. That was the point of no return. And when Lord Krishna stepped in, the punishment was never going to be a quick one.
So, Krishna doesn't kill him. Nope. The verdict was something so much worse. A lesson meant to last for all eternity. Because, you see, killing him, that would have been an escape. That would have been a mercy.
And that brings us to the curse itself. What does it actually mean to be punished with forever? Well, the specifics, man, they are like something out of a psychological horror novel. The cruelty of this punishment was just so precise. Krishna literally reaches out and rips the divine gem from Ashwatthama's forehead, the very source of his power and his divine right. And in its place, he leaves a wound that would never heal, that would just fester and weep forever. And then he was condemned to just wander the earth, alone, until the very end of our current age, the Kali Yuga.
And this right here, this perfectly shows you the two sides of eternal life. We dream about immortality, right? We think of power, glory, becoming a god. But Ashwatthama's immortality, it's the dark mirror to that fantasy. It's nothing but pain, solitude, constant decay, and absolute crushing isolation.
And you can just imagine the psychological toll this takes over millennia. I mean, first off, he's the eternal witness. He has seen every single empire rise from nothing and crumble into dust. He knows the truth behind every single moment in history. Then there's the agonizing isolation. Any friend he could ever make just withers and dies in what to him feels like the blink of an eye. His body is a prison, and to make it all worse, his wound gives off this awful smell that physically repels anyone who might dare to get close. Just try to wrap your head around that scale for a second. We look back at ancient civilizations and it feels like a completely different world. To him, that was just another chapter he lived through. He is the ultimate outsider, a man literally unstuck in time. Okay, but here's where the story gets really eerie, because this isn't just a tale locked away in an ancient text. For centuries, and I mean even up to today, there are stories, sightings of a very strange figure popping up all over India. And it forces you to ask a really strange question. Are these just folk tales, stories passed down from parent to child? Or is it possible that Ashwatthama is still out there, a living remnant? And if you look at the folklore, the stories are remarkably consistent. Near the Asirgarh Fort, people have talked for generations about a huge, tall man who shows up at a Shiva temple just before dawn. He leaves a single flower as an offering and then vanishes. Along the Narmada River, there are tales of a mysterious man who approaches travelers, begging for a little bit of oil or butter, anything to soothe a terrible, burning wound on his forehead. These stories keep the myth alive, grounding it in the real world.
Now, of course, skeptics will just call it folklore. But for those who believe, Ashwatthama is still wandering, still waiting. He's waiting for the arrival of Kalki, the final avatar who is prophesied to appear at the end of this age. Because Kalki is the only one who can finally end his sentence, the only one who can grant him the gift he so desperately wants, death.
So this entire story, this ancient curse, it's not really just about him, is it? It forces us to turn the camera around, to look back at ourselves, and question one of our most basic human desires. It makes us think about the real value of an ending.
5,000 years. Can you even begin to comprehend that? 5,000 years of pain, of regret, of watching the entire world change while you are stuck. 5,000 years of solitude.
And that's the question the legend of Ashwatthama really leaves us with. Is death actually the enemy we think it is? Or is it the only thing that gives our lives any meaning? Maybe it's the finish line that makes the race worth running in the first place. Maybe it's our mortality that makes every moment so precious.
So that's the final thought I'll leave you with. If someone offered you that choice, right now, a chance to live forever, but you had to carry the weight of every single mistake, every regret, for all of eternity, would you take it?